Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about emotions. Emotions are powerful forces within us capable of lifting us up or tearing us down, guiding us toward action or immobilizing us in hesitation. The key to mastering life and all that it offers is learning how to control these emotions rather than letting them control us. When we let our emotions drive the ship, we're surrendering our stability, our progress, and ultimately our success to forces we should command. Now you may think, but how do I control something that feels so instinctive, so natural? The answer is both simple and profound. It's a matter of discipline, intention, and awareness. Imagine every emotion, anger, joy, fear, excitement as tools in your toolbox. Tools that, used correctly, can build something remarkable. But used impulsively or left unattended, they can tear down everything you've worked to build. The goal here is to become the craftsman of your own life, skillfully using your emotions as tools to construct a future you're proud of. Take anger, for example. It's an intense emotion that can fuel achievement if harnessed properly. But left unchecked, anger can destroy relationships, derail careers, and damage our health. What if, instead of reacting in anger, you paused, took a step back, and thought, how can I use this to drive my goals, to focus my efforts, to fuel my determination? That simple pause can mean the difference between advancement and regret. Then there's fear. Fear is a common thief. It robs people of ambition, of growth, of opportunities that could change their lives. But understand, this fear can be managed, it can be mastered. Fear, used right, can keep you sharp and alert, helping you anticipate and avoid potential dangers. But let it overtake you, and it becomes a prison, locking you away from experiences that could bring you fulfillment and success. And how about joy and excitement? They're the emotions that add color to life, that remind us why we're striving for all this in the first place. But they too must be balanced. Don't let excitement pull you into impulsive choices or make promises you can't keep. Joy in moderation keeps us moving, inspired, and in pursuit of our vision without losing sight of what's essential. Now, you may ask, how do I develop this level of control over my emotions? Start with awareness. Recognize the emotion as it arises, whether it's frustration at a setback or excitement over a new opportunity. Next, give yourself the space to decide how to respond. Think about what outcome you desire, then choose a response that aligns with that goal, and discipline yourself. Self-discipline is the bridge between emotion and action, between reaction and choice. When you consistently apply discipline, you take command of your emotions. Instead of letting them drive you, you become the one at the wheel. Remember, this emotions are part of being human, but you are in control of the part they play in your life. The sooner you decide to control your emotions, the sooner you'll find that success, fulfillment, and peace are within your reach. Take ownership of your emotions, master them, and you'll master your life. Thank you. Emotions are powerful forces woven into the fabric of human experience. They are not random occurrences, but complex responses that shape and color every moment of our lives. Think about the impact emotions have on your day-to-day decisions, on the way you interact with others, or even on how you perceive the world. At any given moment, emotions can uplift you, energize you, or send you spiraling. But emotions, in essence, are tools, and like any tool, their value lies in how skillfully we wield them. Mastery of emotions doesn't mean eliminating or ignoring them. It means learning to recognize them, understand their purpose, and use them constructively. Just as a carpenter might use different tools to create a beautiful piece of furniture, we can use our emotions to construct a life of meaning, success, and fulfillment. Imagine a moment when anger arises. Anger is often seen as a destructive emotion, something to be subdued or avoided. But what if we looked at it differently? Anger is in many ways a signal that something isn't right, that some boundary has been crossed, or that a need hasn't been met. If we can observe that anger without immediately reacting to it, we begin to see its value. We can ask ourselves why we're feeling angry, what specifically triggered it, and more importantly, how we can channel that emotion in a productive way. Instead of lashing out or letting anger simmer beneath the surface, we could redirect it toward problem solving, use it to fuel determination, or even let it inspire us to stand up for what's right. This way, anger isn't an out-of-control force, but a tool that motivates change, helping us to address issues head-on rather than avoid them. Consider also the role of fear. Fear, in its essence, is a survival mechanism. It's the mind's way of warning us about potential threats, keeping us alert to danger. Yet, in our modern world, fear often becomes misplaced, attaching itself to challenges or unknowns that don't truly threaten our well-being. Fear can prevent us from stepping into the unknown, trying new things, or reaching for goals that seem out of reach. However, if we look at fear as a tool, we begin to see it as something more than a barrier. Fear, when acknowledged and understood, can sharpen our senses. It can make us more aware of potential obstacles, allowing us to prepare and navigate our path with greater caution and precision. When we lean into fear rather than letting it dictate our actions, We become courageous, willing to move forward in spite of it. And in doing so, we discover that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Another significant emotion is joy, an emotion that can fill our lives with meaning and color. Joy reminds us of what's worth striving for, of the beauty and wonder inherent in the world around us. But joy, if unchecked, can lead us to impulsive decisions, clouding our ability to make choices that align with our long-term goals. It's easy to be swept up in the thrill of the moment, to follow wherever joy leads without considering the consequences. However, when we approach joy as a tool, we can harness its energy without losing our sense of purpose. Joy, used wisely, can be a powerful motivator. It can remind us of our passions, of what truly matters, and give us the drive to pursue our goals with enthusiasm. By balancing joy with intention, we experience life fully while keeping our eyes on the bigger picture. Sadness, too, has its purpose. In a society that often promotes happiness as the ultimate goal, sadness is sometimes seen as an undesirable emotion, something to be avoided or hidden. Yet sadness allows us to reflect, to process loss, and to grow from our experiences. It connects us to our humanity, reminding us of the value of relationships, of the things and people we care about. Sadness, when embraced rather than suppressed, becomes a teacher. It encourages introspection, allowing us to find meaning in our pain and to emerge with a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. When we let sadness work as a tool, it fosters empathy, resilience, and a sense of gratitude for the good in our lives. Excitement, much like joy, is an emotion that fuels us. It's the spark that ignites our passion, the anticipation that keeps us engaged. Excitement can drive us to pursue our dreams with vigor, to set ambitious goals and reach for new heights. But excitement, if left unchecked, can lead to impulsive choices, to decisions made in the heat of the moment without consideration of the consequences. When we learn to harness excitement, it becomes a source of motivation that propels us forward, helping us to take action while still keeping our focus. By grounding excitement in intention, we use it as a tool to drive our ambitions, channeling its energy toward purposeful action rather than allowing it to pull us in every direction. Love, perhaps one of the most profound emotions, is also a powerful tool. Love connects us to others, giving us a sense of belonging and purpose. It drives us to care for others, to make sacrifices, and to strive to be our best selves. Love, however, can sometimes blind us, leading us to make choices that don't serve us or the people we care about. When we use love as a tool, we approach it with clarity, allowing it to deepen our connections without compromising our values or our sense of self. Love, when balanced with self-respect and awareness, becomes a force for growth, allowing us to nurture relationships that are healthy, fulfilling, and mutually beneficial. Every emotion, whether it's anger, fear, joy, sadness, excitement, or love, holds a lesson. The emotions give us insights into our values, our desires, and our needs. They show us what matters, what's worth pursuing, and what we should avoid. When we begin to view emotions as tools, we take control of our lives. We become the architects of our own experience, using emotions to guide us rather than allowing them to lead us astray. Emotions are like instruments in an orchestra. Each one has its place, its purpose, and its unique sound. When we learn to play them in harmony, we create a life that is rich, balanced, and purposeful. Think of emotions as guides that offer us valuable information. Anger, for instance, may reveal our boundaries, our sense of justice, or our need for change. Fear shows us where we feel vulnerable, giving us a chance to strengthen ourselves or reconsider our approach. Joy reminds us of our passions, motivating us to pursue what brings us fulfillment. Sadness connects us to our compassion, helping us appreciate the moments and relationships we often take for granted. Excitement pushes us to grow, to try new things, and to seek out experiences that enrich our lives. Love, in its many forms, reminds us that we're part of something greater, that we're not alone. But for emotions to serve us, we must use them with awareness. Just as a skilled craftsman knows how to use each tool to create a masterpiece, we must learn to work with each emotion to shape our lives intentionally. This requires discipline, patience, and a willingness to look within. It means recognizing that emotions are not obstacles but stepping stones, each one offering a path to greater understanding, resilience, and self-mastery. When we embrace emotions as tools, we stop seeing them as problems to be solved or challenges to be overcome. Instead, we view them as allies on our journey, as resources we can draw upon to navigate the complexities of life. This perspective shifts our relationship with emotions, allowing us to experience them fully without being overwhelmed by them. It empowers us to live with purpose, to make choices that reflect our values, and to build a future that aligns with our deepest aspirations. Emotions in their raw form are neither good nor bad. They are simply responses to the world around us, shaped by our thoughts, experiences, and beliefs. By learning to work with emotions, we cultivate a sense of inner balance and resilience. We become more adaptable, better able to handle challenges, and more capable of making decisions that serve our highest good. Emotions, when harnessed as tools, lead us not just to success, but to a life of meaning, connection, and fulfillment. In every moment, we have a choice to react impulsively to our emotions or to use them to build something greater. When we choose the latter, we step into a new level of self-awareness and self-control. We learn to see emotions not as forces to be feared, but as resources to be managed. This shift in perspective transforms not only our relationship with ourselves, but also with the world around us. Become more patient, more compassionate, and more intentional in our actions. Mastering emotions as tools is an ongoing journey, one that requires practice, reflection, and a commitment to growth. But as we develop this skill, we find that emotions no longer control us, we control them. We become the authors of our own story, crafting a life that reflects not only what we feel, but also who we aspire to be. Emotions in this light are the foundation upon which we build our dreams, the energy that fuels our progress, and the wisdom that guides our choices. The power of the pause is a subtle yet profound skill that can transform the way we interact with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. In a society that often prizes speed, productivity, and immediate responses, the idea of pausing may seem counterintuitive. We're taught to hustle, to act swiftly, to react in real time. But in this culture of rapid response, we risk losing sight of the clarity and wisdom that come only with a well-timed pause. Pausing doesn't mean inaction, rather, it's an intentional act, a choice to step back, observe, and assess. It's a conscious decision to create space between stimulus and response, between an emotion and the action that follows. This space is where true freedom lies, for it's in the pause that we gain the ability to choose our responses, rather than simply react out of habit or impulse. When we encounter challenging situations, our natural instinct is often to react immediately. Our brains are hardwired to respond to perceived threats, a survival mechanism from our earliest ancestors. But in modern life, most of the challenges we face are not life-threatening in the same way. They're more nuanced, more complex, and require a different kind of response. Pausing allows us to break free from the automatic responses that may no longer serve us. Instead of reacting from a place of emotion or impulse, we can respond from a place of awareness and intention. In this way, the pause becomes a tool for self-mastery, giving us control over our actions and ultimately over our lives. Consider the moments when anger arises. Anger is a powerful emotion, one that can surge through us with incredible intensity. Left unchecked, it can lead us to say or do things we later regret, actions that may harm our relationships or undermine our integrity. But when we pause, even for a few seconds, we create a buffer between the anger and our response. In that brief moment, we have a chance to question the anger, to understand its source and decide how best to channel it. We may find that the anger is a signal of a deeper need or boundary that has been crossed, something that deserves attention but not necessarily aggression. By pausing, we give ourselves the opportunity to address the situation with clarity and purpose, transforming what could have been a destructive force into a constructive one. Pausing is also a powerful tool for managing fear. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty, and it can often paralyze us, preventing us from taking the risks that lead to growth and fulfillment. In moments of fear, our minds tend to race, conjuring up all the potential threats and negative outcomes. But when we pause, we interrupt this cycle of fear-based thinking. We give ourselves a moment to breathe, to ground ourselves in the present, and to see the situation from a broader perspective. In that pause, we may realize that the fear is not as overwhelming as it seemed, that we have more resources and resilience than we initially thought. Pausing helps us separate real threats from imagined ones, allowing us to respond with courage rather than being consumed by anxiety. The pause is equally valuable in moments of joy and excitement. When we're in a state of high emotion, it's easy to make impulsive decisions, to get swept up in the moment without considering the long-term consequences. Pausing doesn't dampen the joy, rather, it allows us to savor it more fully. By taking a moment to breathe and appreciate the experience, we deepen our connection to the present moment. We become more mindful of the choices we're making, ensuring that they align with our values and goals. In this way, the pause enhances our experience of joy, turning fleeting moments of happiness into lasting memories that we can carry with us. One of the most transformative aspects of the pause is its impact on our relationships. In any interaction, especially in moments of tension or conflict, there's a temptation to react immediately, to defend ourselves, to assert our perspective. But this often leads to misunderstandings and escalations, as both parties become more focused on winning the argument than on understanding each other. When we pause, we create space for empathy, for truly listening to the other person. We allow ourselves to step back from our own emotions and consider the situation from their perspective. In doing so, we foster connection and compassion, even in difficult conversations. Pausing helps us to communicate more effectively, to respond rather than react, and to build relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. Pausing also plays a crucial role in decision-making. In a world of constant information and endless choices, decision fatigue is a common challenge. We're bombarded with options, each one demanding our attention and energy. In the rush to decide, we may make choices that aren't aligned with our true desires or long-term goals. But when we pause, we create a moment of stillness, a chance to tune out the noise and listen to our inner voice. We can reflect on our values, our priorities, and our vision for the future. In this quiet space, we find clarity and direction, allowing us to make decisions that resonate with our authentic selves. Pausing isn't about delaying action indefinitely, it's about ensuring that our actions are purposeful and aligned with our core beliefs. In moments of stress, the power of the pause becomes especially evident. Stress triggers a cascade of physiological responses, preparing us to fight or flee. Our heart rate increases, our muscles tense, and our focus narrows. These reactions are helpful in true emergencies, but in everyday life they can lead to burnout and exhaustion if left unchecked. Pausing allows us to interrupt this stress response, to take a deep breath and activate the body's relaxation mechanisms. It's a simple act, but it has profound effects on our well-being. By pausing, we give ourselves permission to reset, to approach challenges with a calm and centered mind. This not only improves our mental and physical health, but also enhances our ability to handle stress with resilience and grace. The beauty of the pause lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require any special tools or techniques. It's available to us in every moment. We can practice it anywhere, whether we're in the middle of a conversation, facing a difficult decision, or simply going about our daily tasks. Pausing doesn't take time away from us, it gives us time, enriching each moment with awareness and presence. It allows us to break free from the autopilot mode that so often governs our lives, giving us the freedom to choose our responses rather than being driven by habit or emotion. The pause empowers us to live more intentionally, to act with purpose rather than reacting out of instinct. The impact of pausing extends beyond the individual. When we practice the pause, we model a different way of being for those around us. We show others that it's possible to approach life with patience and thoughtfulness, that there's value in slowing down and considering our actions. In a world that often prizes speed and immediacy, this is a radical act. By embracing the pause, we create a ripple effect, inspiring others to do the same. We contribute to a culture of mindfulness, where people are encouraged to act from a place of clarity and compassion, rather than haste and reactivity. Pausing also enhances our creativity and problem-solving abilities. When we're faced with a challenge, our first instinct may be to tackle it head-on, to find a solution as quickly as possible. But often the best ideas come not when we're actively seeking them, but when we allow ourselves a moment of stillness. In the pause, our minds have a chance to wander, to explore different perspectives and possibilities. This mental space opens the door to insights and innovations that might not emerge in a state of urgency. By stepping back from the problem, we create room for new ideas to surface, allowing us to approach the situation with fresh eyes and renewed creativity. In a way, the pause is a form of mindfulness. It's an invitation to be fully present, to bring our awareness to the here and now. When we pause, we become more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. We notice details that might have escaped our attention in the rush of daily life. This heightened awareness enriches our experience, allowing us to engage more deeply with each moment. We begin to see life not as a series of tasks to be completed, but as a series of moments to be savored. The pause helps us cultivate a sense of gratitude, a recognition of the beauty and wonder that exist in even the simplest experiences. The practice of pausing is a reminder of our own agency, of the power we have to shape our lives through conscious choice. It's a small act with a profound impact, one that reminds us that we are not at the mercy of our circumstances or emotions. We have the ability to create space, to step back, and to choose our responses with intention. In this space, we find freedom, a sense of autonomy that allows us to live in alignment with our values and aspirations. The pause empowers us to break free from patterns of reactivity, to act with integrity and purpose. Ultimately, the power of the pause lies in its ability to bring us back to ourselves. In a world that often pulls us in 100 different directions, the pause is a return to center. It's a moment to reconnect with our own inner wisdom, to remember who we are and what we stand for. It's a reminder that, no matter how chaotic the world may seem, we have the capacity to create calm and clarity within ourselves. The pause is not a luxury, it's a necessity, a vital practice that grounds us in the present and empowers us to navigate life with resilience and grace. One that requires not only courage, but a deep understanding of the roots and mechanisms of fear itself. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience, woven into the fabric of our survival instincts, alerting us to danger and keeping us safe from harm. It's an ancient tool, rooted in the evolutionary need to protect ourselves from threats. But in the modern world, fear has evolved beyond its original purpose. While it once served us well in genuine life or death situations, fear now often arises in contexts that don't warrant such an intense response. Instead of preserving our safety, it can limit our growth, potential, and fulfillment. To master fear, we must learn to separate rational fears from irrational ones, to observe and understand it rather than be ruled by it. This process of mastering fear is not about eliminating it entirely, for fear will always be a part of the human experience. Rather, it's about transforming our relationship with fear so that it becomes a guide rather than an obstacle. Of it. Another key aspect of mastering fear is learning to face it directly rather than avoiding it. Avoidance is a natural response to fear. When something makes us uncomfortable, our instinct is to retreat, to seek comfort and safety elsewhere. But avoidance only strengthens the fear over time. By avoiding what we fear, we reinforce the belief that the situation is dangerous or insurmountable, that we are not capable of handling it. This creates a cycle of fear and avoidance, where each act of avoidance makes the fear more deeply ingrained. To break this cycle, we must be willing to confront our fears, to step into the discomfort rather than flee from it. This doesn't mean diving into fear recklessly, but rather approaching it with a sense of curiosity and openness. When we face our fears, we often discover that they are not as overwhelming as they seemed. We realize that we have more strength and resilience than we gave ourselves credit for. Each time we confront a fear, we build confidence in our ability to handle challenges, and the fear gradually loses its hold over us. Mastering fear also involves cultivating a sense of presence and grounding. Fear often arises when we're focused on the future, on what might happen rather than what is happening. Our minds leap ahead, imagining all the possible outcomes, many of which are negative or unrealistic. But when we bring our attention back to the present moment, we find that much of the fear dissipates. In the present, we are not burdened by the weight of hypothetical scenarios. We are simply here, grounded in what is real and immediate. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool for mastering fear, as it helps us anchor ourselves in the present. By focusing on our breath, our surroundings, or the sensations in our body, we bring our awareness back to the here and now. This doesn't mean ignoring the future entirely, but rather balancing our perspective so that we are not consumed by it. When we approach life from a place of presence, we become less susceptible to fear's influence, as we are rooted in reality rather than speculation. Another important element in mastering fear is recognizing that fear is often a signal, a message from within that something important is at stake. Rather than viewing fear as an enemy to be defeated, we can see it as an ally that highlights areas of growth. Fear can indicate that we're stepping outside our comfort zone, that we're on the edge of something new and significant. In this way, fear often accompanies moments of transformation. When we learn to listen to fear without letting it control us, we can use it as a compass, guiding us toward opportunities for growth and learning. This requires a shift in perspective, from seeing fear as a barrier to seeing it as a doorway. When we feel fear, it's often because we're approaching something meaningful, something that has the potential to expand our understanding or capabilities. By embracing fear in this way, we transform it from a source of limitation into a source of empowerment. Self-compassion is another essential aspect of mastering fear. Fear often brings with it feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and vulnerability. When we're afraid, it's easy to judge ourselves, to feel weak or incapable. But this self-criticism only amplifies the fear, as it adds a layer of shame and guilt to the experience. To master fear, we must approach ourselves with kindness and understanding. Rather than berating ourselves for being afraid, we can acknowledge that fear is a natural human experience, one that everyone encounters in different forms. By treating ourselves with compassion, we create a safe internal environment where we can face our fears without the added burden of self-judgment. Self-compassion allows us to approach fear with an open heart, to be gentle with ourselves as we navigate the challenges it presents. This doesn't mean indulging in fear or letting it control us, but rather creating the emotional support we need to move through it. Mastering fear also requires a commitment to growth, to the idea that we are always capable of learning and evolving. Fear often arises from a fixed mindset, the belief that we are limited in our abilities or that failure is a reflection of our worth. But when we adopt a growth mindset, we see challenges and setbacks as opportunities for development rather than as threats to our identity. A growth mindset encourages us to view fear as a natural part of the learning process, as something that accompanies us on the path to mastery. This perspective allows us to embrace fear rather than resist it, to see it as a sign that we are stretching beyond our current limitations. With a growth mindset, we become more resilient in the face of fear, as we are focused not on avoiding discomfort but on what we can gain from it. In mastering fear, it's also essential to surround ourselves with support, with people who encourage and uplift us. Fear can be isolating, as it often makes us feel alone in our struggles. But when we share our fears with others, we often find that they are more common than we realized. We discover that others have faced similar challenges and have found ways to overcome them. By connecting with others, we gain perspective and strength, as we see that fear is not something to be ashamed of, but a shared aspect of the human experience. Supportive relationships provide us with the encouragement we need to face our fears, as they remind us that we are not alone in our journey. Whether it's a friend, a mentor, or a community, having support can make all the difference in our ability to confront and master our fears. Mastering fear is also about developing trust in ourselves and our own abilities and resilience. Fear often stems from a lack of confidence in our capacity to handle challenges. We doubt our strength, our intelligence, our resourcefulness. But when we cultivate self-trust, we build a foundation of confidence that allows us to face fear with courage. Self-trust doesn't mean believing that we'll never make mistakes or encounter difficulties. Rather, it's the belief that we can navigate whatever comes our way. This trust in ourselves is built through experience, through moments when we face fear and come out stronger on the other side. Each time we confront a fear, we reinforce our belief in our own resilience. We see that we are capable of handling more than we initially thought, and this knowledge empowers us to face future fears with greater confidence. Mastering fear also involves a sense of purpose, a vision of what we want to achieve or become. When we have a clear purpose, fear becomes less overwhelming, as it is balanced by a sense of meaning. Our purpose acts as an anchor, keeping us grounded even in the face of uncertainty. With a strong sense of purpose, we can approach fear not as a deterrent, but as a stepping stone on the path to our goals. Purpose gives us a reason to push through the discomfort of fear, as we see that it is part of a larger journey towards something meaningful. When we are guided by purpose, we become less focused on the fear itself and more focused on the vision we are working toward. In the process of mastering fear, we also cultivate patience, recognizing that change and growth take time. Fear is not something that disappears overnight. It's a complex emotion that requires ongoing attention and effort. Mastering fear is a gradual process, one that involves small steps and incremental progress. By approaching fear with patience, we allow ourselves the time and space needed to grow. We become less focused on immediate results and more focused on the journey, trusting that each step we take brings us closer to mastery. Patience allows us to move through fear with grace, to accept the pace of our own growth without frustration or judgment. Ultimately, mastering fear is about freedom, about reclaiming our power to live life on our own terms. Fear will always be a part of our experience, but it doesn't have to control us. By transforming our relationship with fear, we open ourselves to new possibilities, to a life of greater courage, resilience, and fulfillment. We become free to pursue our dreams, to embrace challenges, and to live fully in each moment. Master. Balancing joy and excitement is an essential part of creating a life that is both fulfilling and sustainable. These two emotions, while closely related, play distinct roles in our lives. Joy is the steady, enduring sense of happiness and contentment that comes from within, while excitement is the burst of energy and enthusiasm that often arises in response to specific events or stimuli. Joy is like a calm river that flows gently through our lives, providing us with a constant sense of well-being, while excitement is more like a waterfall, powerful and exhilarating but often temporary. Both joy and excitement have their place, and the key to a balanced life lies in learning how to harmonize these two emotions in a way that allows us to experience the best of both without being overwhelmed by either. To start, joy is rooted in a deeper sense of satisfaction and alignment with one's values and purpose. It's not dependent on external events or circumstances. Rather, it comes from a sense of internal peace and fulfillment. When we experience joy, we feel grounded and connected to something larger than ourselves, be it our goals, our relationships, or simply our sense of self. Joy has a quiet strength that can carry us through difficult times, providing a sense of stability and resilience. Unlike excitement, which tends to come in bursts, joy is a more consistent presence in our lives. It doesn't require constant stimulation or novelty to be sustained. Rather, it thrives in simplicity and presence. Joy can be found in the small, everyday moments: a walk in nature, a shared laugh with a friend, a quiet evening spent with a good book. It's the kind of happiness that grows over time, deepening as we learn to appreciate the richness of life's ordinary moments. Excitement, on the other hand, is a high-energy emotion that brings a sense of vitality and enthusiasm. It's the feeling we get when we're about to try something new, embark on an adventure, or achieve a goal we've been working toward. Excitement can be incredibly motivating, pushing us to take risks, step out of our comfort zones, and pursue our dreams with vigor. However, because it's often linked to external events, excitement can be fleeting. It tends to rise and fall quickly, leaving us with a temporary high that fades as soon as the novelty wears off. This is why excitement alone isn't enough to sustain a fulfilling life. While it can add bursts of energy and passion, relying solely on excitement for happiness can lead to a cycle of highs and lows, where we're constantly chasing the next big thrill but never truly feeling content. The challenge, then, is to find a way to balance the enduring presence of joy with the exhilarating bursts of excitement. This balance is essential because while joy provides us with a steady foundation, excitement adds a dynamic, vibrant quality to our lives. Too much joy without excitement can lead to a sense of complacency or monotony, where life feels stable but lacks the spark of new experiences. Conversely, too much excitement without joy can lead to burnout, as we're constantly seeking the next thrill without ever feeling a sense of lasting satisfaction. By learning to harmonize these two emotions, we can create a life that is both meaningful and energizing. One of the keys to balancing joy and excitement is to cultivate an awareness of the difference between short-term pleasure and long-term fulfillment. Excitement often brings immediate gratification, a quick boost of happiness that can be exhilarating in the moment. But because it's linked to specific events or achievements, it tends to fade once the novelty wears off. Joy, on the other hand, is more closely tied to our values and our sense of purpose, providing a lasting sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on external circumstances. By recognizing the difference between these two types of happiness, we can make choices that support both our short-term enjoyment and our long-term well-being. For example, while it's wonderful to seek out experiences that bring excitement, Another important aspect of balancing joy and excitement is learning to prioritize our time and energy. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of excitement, constantly seeking out new experiences and achievements. But when we spread ourselves too thin, we risk losing the depth and richness that comes from a more intentional approach to life. By taking the time to reflect on our values and priorities, we can make choices that support both our joy and our excitement. We can choose to spend time on activities that bring us a deep sense of fulfillment, while also leaving room for the occasional burst of excitement. This balance allows us to experience the best of both emotions without feeling overwhelmed or depleted. It's also helpful to cultivate a sense of gratitude, as this can enhance both our joy and our excitement. Gratitude reminds us to appreciate the beauty and richness of life, even in the simplest of moments. When we're grateful, we're more likely to experience joy as we're focused on what we have rather than what we lack. Gratitude also enhances our experience of excitement, as it allows us to fully appreciate the thrill of new experiences without taking them for granted. By practicing gratitude, we can create a sense of balance between joy and excitement, as we learn to appreciate both the steady presence of joy and the vibrant energy of excitement in our lives. Finally, balancing joy and excitement involves cultivating a sense of resilience. Life is full of ups and downs, and both joy and excitement will ebb and flow over time. By developing resilience, we can navigate these fluctuations with grace, allowing ourselves to experience both the highs of excitement and the steady warmth of joy without becoming attached to either. Resilience allows us to accept life's changes and challenges, knowing that both joy and excitement are part of the journey. This balanced approach to life enables us to experience a deep sense of fulfillment, as we learn to appreciate both the enduring presence of joy and the exhilarating moments of excitement without being ruled by either. Self-discipline serves as one of the most powerful tools we have for achieving emotional control. It allows us to step back from the sway of immediate emotions and approach situations with a clear, rational mindset. Self-discipline is what gives us the power to delay gratification, to hold back impulsive reactions, and to choose our responses rather than simply reacting. Emotions, as intense and immediate as they can be, often serve their purpose best when filtered through a disciplined mind that can evaluate their relevance and impact. Through self-discipline, we gain the ability to reflect, to pause, and to manage our feelings effectively, rather than being swept away by them. Self-discipline doesn't suppress our emotions, rather, it enables us to understand them, allowing us to respond in ways that align with our goals, values, and aspirations. At its core, self-discipline involves making decisions based on long-term objectives rather than short-term feelings. It requires us to prioritize our deeper desires over temporary emotions, and it often involves resisting the temptation to act on immediate impulses. This doesn't mean ignoring or repressing emotions, rather, it means acknowledging them without allowing them to dictate our actions. Imagine a situation in which anger arises. Without discipline, anger can lead to destructive behaviors, harsh words, or regrettable decisions. With self-discipline, however, we can recognize the anger, take a moment to assess its cause, and choose a response that is constructive rather than reactive. This approach transforms emotional experiences into opportunities for growth, where we can learn about ourselves and refine our responses. Self-discipline is also about creating healthy habits that reinforce emotional control over time. Discipline isn't a one-time decision, but a series of daily choices that shape who we are and how we respond to the world around us. For example, by practicing patience, we train ourselves to delay immediate reactions and instead approach situations with a calm and thoughtful mindset. When we choose to pause, to breathe, or to count to 10 before responding, we are practicing a form of self-discipline that enhances our emotional intelligence. Over time, these small acts of discipline build upon each other, creating a foundation of emotional stability that enables us to handle challenges with resilience and composure. The more we practice self-discipline, the more natural it becomes, until it evolves into an integral part of our character. This kind of self-discipline often requires us to set boundaries with ourselves. It may mean establishing personal guidelines for how we respond to stress, frustration, or disappointment. For instance, a boundary could be a commitment to take a walk when feeling overwhelmed rather than reacting in the heat of the moment. Setting these boundaries is a proactive approach to emotional control, as it allows us to make decisions ahead of time about how we will respond in certain situations. By setting these boundaries, we create a mental space in which we can process emotions without being driven by them. This doesn't eliminate emotions, it simply gives us a structure within which we can manage them in a balanced and thoughtful way. By honoring these self-imposed boundaries, we cultivate a sense of respect for ourselves and our capacity for self-regulation. The development of self-discipline also helps us become more aware of the patterns in our emotional responses. Often, certain situations trigger specific emotions, whether it's frustration, sadness, or anxiety. Through discipline, we can become attuned to these patterns and start recognizing the triggers that set off these emotional responses. For example, if we notice that we tend to get frustrated during high-pressure situations, self-discipline can guide us to prepare mentally for those moments. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can approach these situations with a sense of calm readiness, using strategies that allow us to stay focused and composed. Over time, this awareness and preparation enable us to respond to emotional triggers with a greater sense of control and intention, transforming potential obstacles into opportunities for growth. Self-discipline also plays a critical role in managing how we communicate emotions. Emotional control doesn't mean denying what we feel, but learning to express it in a way that is constructive and aligns with our intentions. For instance, rather than allowing frustration to manifest as anger, self-discipline allows us to communicate what's on our mind calmly and clearly. This not only improves our relationships with others, but also reinforces our own sense of agency over our emotions. When we choose to express our feelings thoughtfully rather than impulsively, we create a sense of balance between acknowledging our emotions and maintaining a constructive dialogue. This approach to communication is particularly useful in high-stress environments, where emotions can easily escalate if left unchecked. Through self-discipline, we create a space for thoughtful expression, which can lead to stronger, more positive connections with others. Self-discipline also helps us develop resilience in the face of emotional challenges. Life is full of unexpected events, some of which can trigger strong emotions that feel difficult to control. By practicing self-discipline, we build the strength to handle these challenges with grace and poise. For instance, when faced with disappointment, self-discipline allows us to accept what has happened, process our feelings, and then focus on finding a solution rather than dwelling on the negative aspects. This resilience allows us to stay focused on our long-term goals, even when short-term setbacks threaten to derail us. Instead of being overwhelmed by frustration or despair, we can use discipline to maintain a steady course, adapting our actions to align with our core values and objectives. This adaptability is essential for personal growth, as it enables us to turn challenging experiences into stepping stones for progress. Moreover, self-discipline empowers us to make intentional choices about what we allow into our minds and lives. This means being selective about the influences we surround ourselves with, whether it's the media we consume, the people we interact with, or the environments we frequent. When we are disciplined in our choices, we can reduce the likelihood of being overwhelmed by external stressors that could otherwise provoke emotional responses. By limiting exposure to negativity and choosing instead to engage with uplifting and constructive influences, we create a mental environment that supports emotional stability. This intentional approach to our surroundings not only enhances our emotional control, but also contributes to a more positive and fulfilling life experience. Self-discipline also helps us cultivate patience and tolerance, two qualities that are essential for emotional control. Impatience and intolerance often arise when we feel that our expectations are not being met, whether by ourselves or by others. Self-discipline allows us to manage these feelings by reminding us that not everything will happen on our timeline or according to our desires. By practicing patience, we learn to tolerate delays, setbacks, and imperfections without letting them affect our emotional well-being. This doesn't mean resigning ourselves to inaction, rather, it means choosing to respond with understanding rather than frustration. Over time, this practice of patience becomes a tool for emotional resilience, enabling us to navigate life's ups and downs with a calm and steady demeanor. Through self-discipline, we also gain the ability to let go of unnecessary attachments that can fuel emotional reactions. Often, our strongest emotions arise from clinging to specific outcomes, expectations, or beliefs. When we are disciplined, we can evaluate whether these attachments are truly serving us or if they are contributing to unnecessary stress. For example, if we have an attachment to always being right, we may react defensively when challenged, allowing our ego to dictate our responses. Self-discipline allows us to release this attachment, freeing us from the need to prove ourselves and enabling us to respond more openly and calmly. By letting go of these attachments, we create mental space for acceptance, which fosters a sense of inner peace and emotional balance. One of the most profound effects of self-discipline on emotional control is the development of a positive inner dialogue. Emotions often stem from the thoughts we choose to entertain, and self-discipline helps us become more mindful of those thoughts. Instead of allowing negative or self-critical thoughts to shape our emotions, discipline allows us to cultivate a mindset of positivity and encouragement. When we are disciplined in our thinking, we can challenge irrational beliefs, replace negativity with affirmations, and focus on constructive perspectives. This positive inner dialogue not only supports our emotional well-being, but also strengthens our resilience in the face of challenges. By training ourselves to think positively, we can create an emotional foundation that is rooted in confidence and self-compassion, enabling us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and grace. The practice of self-discipline is an ongoing journey, requiring consistent effort and self-reflection. It involves a commitment to growth and a willingness to learn from our experiences. Each time we choose discipline over impulse, we strengthen our capacity for emotional control, creating a positive feedback loop that reinforces our progress. As we continue to practice self-discipline, we become more skilled at managing our emotions in a way that aligns with our values and supports our goals. This journey may not always be easy, but the rewards are profound as we gain the ability to live a life that is both intentional and fulfilling. With self-discipline, we empower ourselves to face challenges with courage, to express ourselves with integrity, and to build relationships that are grounded in respect and understanding.